The regions of Ukrainian dance do not always match the political borders of Ukraine. One of the reasons for this is that village culture is quite independent of politics, and regional boundaries match natural patterns of communication, occupation, and geography. Secondly, the political boundaries of Ukraine have changed many times over the years. Indeed, for many centuries, there was no such thing as a country called Ukraine. Most of the current boundaries of Ukraine were established after World War II. In northern Ukraine, for example, the cultural boundaries between Ukrainian Polisia and Belarus are very gradual. They blend slowly into each other as you travel north, and it is impossible to identify one clear line. There are many distinct ethnographic regions in the west of Ukraine, where the mountains create distinct geographic zones and where people have lived a settled existence for many centuries. In the wide open steppes of central and eastern Ukraine, where populations moved around more in recent centuries, the regions are larger and even more blurred. In the far west, the Lemkos have long lived on land that is now mostly part of Poland and Slovakia. The same is true for several small regions, the Sian region, the Cholm region, and Podlasia. In the east, thousands of Cossacks moved to the Kuban area in the late 1700s, beyond the Sea of Azov. Their descendants still call themselves the Kuban Cossacks and live in a region completely outside of the Ukrainian political boundaries. Ukrainian Canadian pioneer dances are also unique because they describe a particular group who moved across the ocean and who created their own special regional subculture of Ukrainian peasant life in Canada. Within Ukraine, however, there are 25 oblasti, or provinces, that don't always match the ethnographic regions. Hopak is perhaps the most famous Ukrainian dance of all. It originated some 500 years ago when the Ukrainian Cossacks lived in the steppes of southern Ukraine, and especially in their fortified camp called Sich. They gathered in small groups and celebrated in their own way. They played on a wide variety of instruments, and whenever they played, they danced. They danced in a way that no one on earth could match them. The music played all day long, and all day long they danced. Originally, the dance was solely a men's dance. It was full of heroism, pride, and strength. A Cossack danced the Hopak alone, in pairs, in threes, or in larger groups. Each dancer moved as he felt like, improvising and showing off for his friends. Because improvisation was so important, no two dances were ever the same, even if performed by the same person. The Cossacks did not stay in their military camps forever, and eventually the Hopak spread to their hometowns and villages. Here, the Hopak continued to be danced by men, but also evolved into a mixed dance, usually for couples. Now, instead of showing off for each other, the men were trying to impress their partners. As soon as Ukrainian plays started appearing on the stage in the early 1800s, the Hopak was performed as part of the story. Partly because of the exciting solo steps and technical virtuosity in the Hopak, it has remained a very popular staged Ukrainian dance for almost 200 years. Practically every Ukrainian dance concert, in Ukraine, in Canada, and around the world, ends in Hopak.